Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. It's Friday, I'm in black, which means it's Hamlet time. As always, the monologue is in the description below. Take a moment to pause me, read it, and then come on back. So, like I said last week, we are going to be looking at Gertrude today. And Gertrude is the mother of Hamlet, the wife of Claudius, the queen of Denmark, and that's all we know. We don't really get much more of a look at her beyond that, because Gertrude is basically a reactor. What she does is things happen to her and she reacts to them. She does not necessarily showcase anything else beyond that. Yes, she clearly has some care for Hamlet and Claudius, but they are her son and husband, respectively. And she shows herself as the Queen of Denmark in her regal bearing, but beyond those things, we got nothing. She is a vehicle for the plot in most cases, where she's either delivering news or helping move things along to their next beat, and we don't get a chance to really see her character. It's not like Ophelia, who we looked at last week, who we see her hold her own with wit and measure against Hamlet and Laertes, and yet be subservient to her father. So we see kind of her own duality in that. We see a personality, and we see a thing that you can dig into. Gertrude just kind of takes everything and just runs with it. So that leaves you a couple of choices as an actor, and this is one of the things that makes Gertrude an interesting part, is because you can really take her and make her your own. Now, you could just play her as that reactive person, as the person who's just as things happen to her, she reacts, and we see that reaction. That's really good if your show is focusing on the other parts of this, and Gertrude is being used kind of as a weather bell or test for the audience. Basically, audience can always look to Gertrude to see what kind of reaction should I have, Gertrude? That's one way of playing her, and that's not a bad way. Another way is when you're working with your director and the other actors is to start thinking about the questions we have about Gertrude, and there are thousands of them. You could ask thousands of questions. I could go on for hours about Gertrude and what she's thinking and how she's going, but I'm going to focus on three. The first, after Hamlet Sr.'s death, after her first husband's death, who approached who first? Because we know Claudius and Gertrude got married. What we don't know is who was the person to suggest it. Did Claudius suggest to Gertrude? That falls in line with the idea of her being kind of letting things going and go along and take her along with her. Or it shows her to be, the proper woman letting the man approach first. Or did Gertrude go to Claudius? That would say to us that Gertrude is more forward-thinking than we would give her credit for given the time. It would also say that she has a plan, or that maybe she really wanted to be with Claudius but ended up with Hamlet Sr. We don't know. But again, you can answer that question. The second big one, is Gertrude involved in the death of her first husband? And again, people have said kind of both ways. Personal feeling is that she's not. My personal belief is that she's not, based on what happens in the play. She seems genuinely concerned for Hamlet. She is very much trying to figure out what's wrong with him. She just doesn't seem like the type of person to me. But again, you and your director or other actors could figure out something different. You could figure something of, along the ways of, no, maybe Claudius and Gertrude really were in this together and really did conspire to kill her first husband. But that says a lot about it, because if she did, oh my goodness, that opens a whole other realm of questions of why and what did she want to get out of it and what was the point, all of those things. And the third question, which is the most important one for this, and this one is also kind of tailing in with the previous one, and this question deals with what our monologue is today. So the monologue we're looking at today is when Gertrude comes in Act 4 to tell Laertes and Claudius that Ophelia has drowned. She's dead. And the question that I would pose is Gertrude responsible for Ophelia's death? Now, there's a couple ways we can really take this. Either Gertrude was there when Ophelia drowned, or Gertrude heard the news from somebody else. So let's take both of those one at a time. Let's take the first one. Let's take the second one first. She heard the news from somebody. That means somebody came and told her, hey, this is what happened. Ophelia did this, and then she fell in the river and she drowned. What that means is that someone was there with Ophelia but did not save her from drowning. For Gertrude, that becomes a very sentimental moment because, she couldn't be there to witness this. She couldn't have helped. And she really does care for Ophelia quite a bit. She was actually really hoping that Ophelia and Hamlet would both get better, get married, and have kids, as we see later on the graves, at the gravesite scene. But if she's just hearing this news, then all she is a relayer of the news, and that affects how you play the monologue because it's secondhand already, and so she's just a messenger of a messenger, and so it's less of an impact because she didn't see it. Now let's take a look at if she's there and saw it herself. If you're taking the road that she didn't have anything to do with it, she is probably going to be very distraught, very heartbroken at this thing that has just happened. But at the same time, you have to ask the question of why didn't anyone try and save Ophelia? I mean, it is theoretically possible Gertrude recognized that she would also be in trouble, or that Gertrude didn't think anything was wrong until it was too late. But if you think about it, there were also probably guards with Gertrude. She is the queen, after all, and she's probably not just wandering around by herself with a mad woman. Because remember, Ophelia's gone a little cuckoo at this point. So the fact that nobody plucked Ophelia, or at least tried to pluck Ophelia out of the water, is rather disturbing. And again, I'm not going to put a dog in this fight. I think there's a lot of questions there that have no really good answer as a whole. It's something that a director and an actor have to sit down and figure out when they're doing this show. For today, when we're doing this monologue, I am going to play it as if A, Gertrude was there, and B, as if she recognized it too late. Like, basically, she saw this all happen and went, oh, this is kind of silly, she'll be fine, oh god, she's not, type of thing. So we're looking really more towards that heartbroken, like, oh my god, I just watched this girl who I really, really liked drown. One woe doth tread upon another's heel, so fast they follow. Your sister's drowned, Laertes. There is a willow, grows aslant a brook, that shows his hoar leaves in the glassy stream. There with fantastic garlands did she come of crowflowers, nettles, daisies, and long purples, that liberal shepherds give a grosser name, but our cold maids do dead men's fingers call them. There on the pendant boughs her coronet weeds clamb'ring to hang, an envious sliver broke, when down her weedy trophies and herself fell in the weeping brook. Her clothes spread wide and mermaid-like, a while they bore her up, which time she chanted snatches of old tunes as one capable of her own distress, or like a creature native and endued unto that element. But long it could not be till that her garments, heavy with their drink, pulled the poor wretch from her melodious lay to muddy death. And there we have Gertrude. We'll be back on Monday with a new monologue, probably something a bit happier after this one. Hope you all have a lovely weekend. Stay healthy, stay safe. Bye!